In Space Station 14, you could run into a scenario where the station is demanding too much power than you can possibly produce. Now, this realistically only happens on Core Station as of right now. There used to be other stations, like Moose used to have an issue with this. New Moose, I should say, if that means anything to anyone. Where the station can demand too much power. And this is an example of Core Station where the round has gone on with some extra power devices added, where the default 2-core AME just simply cannot keep up. The AME is powered, but the SMESs are draining to 0. And due to that, that means with the default setup of Core Station, the particle accelerator just simply cannot draw enough power to fire. Core Station features some very bizarre wiring. It often has wires going through walls, like you can see here. The high voltages go through the walls, high voltages go through the walls. It is rather confusing. This network of high voltages connects to the radiation collectors outside, so that is one thing that is worth mentioning. However, in this room, if you catch it early enough, and you have plenty of time, if you get to a point where the primary SMESs are drained, and you just cannot produce enough power, but the particle accelerator still has a powered SMES and powered substation, you can easily jumpstart the particle accelerator without any outside influence. We just need to disconnect from the main power generator. So we are hooked up to the AME, but it is sharing it between the whole station. You could go around turning off APCs and unanchoring substations until you hit a net positive of power that will power all the SMESs and substations on the station, allowing you to power the particle accelerator. Or I guess that you could also cut off certain parts of the station by cutting the wires, but the result of that is you have to take out infrastructure of the station. However, like I said, if you have an SMES and substation with energy still in them, you're in luck. Without even needing a generator, all you have to do is crowbar up the high voltage areas that connect back into the station. And Core Station is a little weird like this. They go through the wall, so you have to keep an eye on it. And if you just snip the wires, we will disconnect from the AME, meaning that we are on a self-contained loop of power, SMES, substation, APC. Now, you see we're at 0 draw. The reason for that is that the SMES is only inputting into the SMES is being input power, which at the moment is nothing, and only outputting power to the SMES. However, it is not outputting its own high voltage network. You can easily fix that. Here, you could just crowbar right underneath this rack without having to destroy it. It's a little finicky to get the click, but once you do that, you just get a high voltage cable and connect it, power a flicker, but it will connect the high voltage power to the PA power box, which is what is needed to fire it. And it will struggle, it'll take a moment, but as long as you have power in both, even without a generator, it will just distribute the power evenly. You'll hear the emitters start firing in unison, which is really funny. And you just have to wait till the draw hits 500. And reminder, the SMES out here, I'll just show you why I wait, because I have nothing else to talk about at the exact second. The SMES out here are still dead at 0%. So it's not like there's any more power going in. And we are there. All you have to do is turn it to 1, turn it on, and let it fire. And having a Geiger counter here can be helpful, because if you can hear radiation, that means you are good to go. And there is a fairly tight window here. Like if SMES hits 0 and there's no way of inputting power, you will have to either find a powered SMES, which on this station you actually could steal it from telecoms if you really have to, or you can get a generator and power it that way. This station does actually provide 2 uranium generators in this room, but it doesn't provide any uranium, so you'd have to work with salvage. But I hear the Singularity, and you have to get a little lucky with the bounces. There we go. It's hit level 2, so it is going to start producing its own radiation. And if you really want to make sure this SMES stays powered, you could actually just... Let me turn this off because it's loud. You could actually just crowbar up this tile and put down another high voltage, meaning now the rad collectors, look at how fast the SMES charged. The rad collectors are now feeding into this SMES. I have now powered this SMES fully. meaning that this will maintain charge. And now I can reconnect to the station. So if I connect this wire, it will have some issues for a second, but it will kick back on. As you can see, it is struggling. So it might actually be safer to unpurposely let it get larger because it is not stable enough to shoot. So I'm actually going to disconnect it, and that will make it stable again. This might be one of the few times in the game you ever actually want to use a level 2 control box, and I know that is scary as shit to people because if you let it go for too long, you will release a Singularity. But I actually was the one that changed how fast the drain rate is on this, but you do not want to keep it level 2 for very long, maybe 2 or 3 shots, maybe 4, so just count it. So I'll let it do one more level 2 shot, and I'm going to drop it back to level 1. Just because I need it to stay in this level 3 form. And once I think it's stable, I will now connect the power again, because it's going to basically brown out the station. And it is a little annoying, but if you reconnect everything, it will get enough power to keep shooting at a stable rate. And if you really need to, you can always up it back to level 2 to increase the rate. You won't have to keep it in this state as long on an actual server. My server, my own local server, runs at a higher tick rate, which means that the Singularity actually drains faster. So you might not even really have to use level 2 on the official server. I could have tested for that variable, but I didn't. But yet again, there's no real danger keeping it on level 2 for a few shots anymore. But it's probably best just to keep it on level 1. And remember, you can just always disconnect if you're having issues. People might get a little mad at you, but whatever, they can deal with it. And it's actually safe to keep shooting the Singularity even until it grows to the next level, because it won't break containment. You just have to make sure you don't feed it anymore. It looks a little scary. You could even just turn off the particle accelerator for a tiny bit so it won't feed. I mean, it can't keep growing if it has nothing to eat. A pretty simple idea there, obviously. It's not like groundbreaking. But now I can definitely put it back to level 1. It is a very stable level 3. And as you can see, the SMESs are fully charged. And I can just put down the tiles again. And yeah, that is essentially how you jumpstart particle accelerator with no input power at all if you catch it in time, or if you have to, you could basically do with one generator. It'll just take some time. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. Other people might have other ways of jump starting it, but this is the way I think is the safest without having to turn off infrastructure. And again, this really only affects core station due to the AME size. But you could also use this though if the AME is destroyed. And yeah,